And, of course, in the latest twist of political one-upsmanship, Chris Christie has 20 subpoenas waiting for him. Yes, it is the BridgeGate controversy versus the Benghazi controversy next on Get Right with Lenny McAllister, starting right
now. Get Right with Lenny McAllister.
The way we help bring back America and we build the bridges and bring people together is by making sure we hold everybody accountable in a 360 fashion. So let me close with this. Yes, there is a change that we can believe in, but it will never come from a politician or a government program. We got to move away from the American Idol soundbite nature of politics and back to the American statesman of humble servant leadership that we used to see in politics. It is time to reel in government. It is time to roll out the era of the new American citizen. If we can continue to get some common sense governing from both sides of the aisle, we can finally get Americans through the recession, not just Wall Street. We need people that can change the crisis that we're seeing, and that's why, as a proud Republican, I go through the jail ministry. I speak to the kids in the streets. So I'm never going to lay down being a Republican or being a conservative, just as much as I'll never lay down being a proud African American. I feel like a black
money I got coming in. If you're an American and you actually follow politics on the regular, you gotta feel like that's exactly what's going on right now. On one network, all you're hearing at this point in time is BridgeGate, BridgeGate, BridgeGate. On another network, all you hear over and over again is Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. Hey, vey, let's talk about that today on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. You know the drill. You know where to find me on Twitter. Very simple. First and last name, LennyMcAllister. On Facebook, it's two walls. Same guy. Pick a wall. Chat. You might not be able to get on one because I'm friended out. Facebook has deemed that I have had too many friends in my social media life on Facebook, and therefore I'm not allowed to have any more friends. They're the wrong type of influences, if you will. But that's the reason why I created another wall, to get around that. Kind of like sneaking out of the house at night when your parents aren't watching. Although I never did that, because if you know my dad, you know I would never do such a thing, because I wouldn't be here to talk to you right now. But anywho, two walls, same guy. Twitter, it's there. Want your feedback. And back to what I was saying earlier. If you're paying attention to politics on the regular, if this is something you follow, generally speaking, every day, you have to be getting to a point in time where you're just sick of this. It does come across as tit for tat. And that's just all there is to it. Are both stories important? Let's get to that first. And again, your feedback I want on social media. You know where to find me. Are both stories important? Yes. Can you make the argument that one story is a lot more important than the other? Absolutely. Benghazi, which has been ignored by a lot of those in the media. It was covered at one point in time. All this stuff that's coming out gets a news story here or there. Not the same type of coverage as traffic coming out of New York City. One story, if you look at it objectively, is clearly more important than the other. Now, for those of you that say, well, look, this is an abuse of Governor Christie's power. Can't you see that? Yes. Now, what kind of abuse of power would we be talking about in a cover-up of a sitting commander-in-chief that's in a very contentious election and is at the brink of falling behind despite having the incumbency? What kind of abuse of power would that be if that led to, I don't know, a cover-up? Led to ignoring, I don't know, the facts in this case? Letting these facts leak, I don't know, a year and a half later? If you want to talk about abuse of power when it comes to BridgeGate, which you can have an argument to do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You could have a legitimate conversation there. But if that's the case, you're telling me that a sitting commander-in-chief and a person that was the sitting Secretary of State who wants to be the next president being involved in a possible cover-up? Now, I'm not saying it was a cover-up. I'm saying possible cover-up. You're telling me that's not a big story? You're telling me that doesn't matter? Come on. One story is clearly more important than the other. But with that said, it's getting a little dizzying for the average American watching this back and forth like you're playing tennis and you're sitting there at center court. Head just going back and forth. What's going to come up next? What's the liberal side going to say? What's the conservative side going to say? How are they going to come after Hillary? How are they going to come after Christie? How are they going to go after Obama? How are they going to go after the Tea Party? You want to know why Americans are sick and tired of Congress? Because even with the 9% approval rating, many Congress people are more focused on this back and forth, knowing that they sit in a wonderfully drawn gerrymandered district where they can continue to play political tennis all they want, and those that are into politics will sit there and cheer for it. Yay! Get an ace! Spike it on them! That's it! Power game! And then everybody else will say, I hate politicians. I just want to get a job, which, by the way, we still don't really talk about. We don't talk about what's important in this country. Look, people still want to get back to work. We will talk about BridgeGate, though, because it matters to people driving out of New York City, and that's more important than people getting back to work or wondering if there was a big, massive flub when it came to 4 Americans dying in Benghazi, including a U.S. ambassador, and then there was an intentional effort to put out the wrong story. That does bother me because I sit there and see the inequity in that, and people act as though they're the same exact story. They're not. They're not the same exact story. However, if you want to back away from that, I will allow you to do that. If you want to chime in and agree with me, go be my guest. You know where to find me on Twitter, on Facebook. My point, though, is Americans back away from politics, and we're already in what? This is the 17th of January, the first month of the year. In a very important election year that's going to hit the federal elections and many state races. And people are already sick of politics. They're already sick of seeing Chris Christie. I think his inauguration's coming up next week. I bet you dollars to donuts. Somebody, CNN, Fox News, Al Jazeera America, MSNBC, CNBC, somebody is going to run it live nationally. Somebody's going to run him going through the streets of Trenton. Somebody shaking hands. I wonder, this is going to be very interesting to see how many mayors' hands he shakes considering this controversy. Guarantee you that they do that. Dude hasn't even taken the oath for his second term as a governor of one of the 50, or President Obama's term, 57 states that are out there. So let's allow him to do that. On the flip side, while MSNBC and a lot of the progressive media will focus on that and analyze everything and say, did you see how Governor Christie raised his eyebrow? He has contempt in his heart. He has contempt in his heart. On the other side, you're going to hear from probably Fox News and some of the other conservative outlets that are out there more about Benghazi, and there's enough to talk about there. I'm not saying that that's not an important story either. It is important to talk about BridgeGate because if he did abuse his power and he does have that animus to get back at people in a situation where, by the way, Chris Christie was up big in his gubernatorial reelection bid. He was up big. He's in a blue state. Can he really expect Democrats who already know that this governor is going to win to go out on a limb and get whacked by their party? What happens if they were vulnerable when it came to re-election? Was it really worth going against their party to go with a governor that was going to get reelected anyway when you may or may not get favors from this governor and then you don't get reelected yourself? It makes sense, especially you start talking about August, September, October, and Christie's up. I think Christie was up by 20, 25 points at one point in time. It was ridiculous considering he's a Republican in a blue state. So, yeah. If he was abusing his power and his people were like that, it's a story to follow. Maybe not at the level that we're following it. Maybe not to ask for resignations all like this. Not to assume that he can't run for the presidency in 2016. I mean, we got people in the Senate. We got people in the House of Representatives that have done things. Heck, we had Elliot Spitzer and Anthony Weiner just last fall. And Weiner was ahead in the polls. So don't tell me that Chris Christie can't recover from this. It's a big story, something to follow. However, not the same story as Benghazi. However, in regards to how it's going to be followed, left versus right, conservative versus progressive, MSNBC versus Fox News, on the other side, you're going to have the conservative media going overboard with this too. Did you see how President Obama got off of his helicopter spending all of our taxpayer money with Michelle Obama, and how he looked at those military personnel serving him, he has contempt in his heart. He has contempt in his heart. He hates America. Look, I mean, Benghazi is a big story. And if the president and anybody in his administration or anybody that used to be in his administration, that covers pretty much anybody that was involved with the Obama White House in 2012. Any of those three scenarios, if any of those three scenarios involved a cover-up in any way, shape, or form, the truth is, one, it's a bigger story than BridgeGate. But I'm not going to continue to belabor that point. But I would like people to really actually understand that. Number two, you're going to continue to hear about it, but in the back and forth political tennis fashion that we continue to hear, people going after Christie, people going after Clinton, people going after the Tea Party, people going after Obama, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is just the beginning. And if you think that the American people are not going to be fed up, A, with politics in general, and B, fed up with somebody specifically. And this is the danger that my fellow Republicans have to be mindful of this. Fellow conservatives got to be mindful of this. Every single time the American people get fed up with politics, they eventually not only get fed up with politics, they then get fed up with one particular side because they can't be mad at the whole system. This is not Brewster's Millions. You can't vote none of the above and, basically do the Clint Eastwood and have 435 empty chairs in the House of Representatives. Even though that would be pretty interesting, even for a day. One could argue there's a lot of empty chairs there all the time anyway because they're always on recess. Anywho, I won't say that, but people have said that from time to time. I'm just voicing the thoughts of the people here. With that said, you can't do the Brewster's Millions things. And by the way, you don't have $30 million from your white uncle if you're black waiting for you if you did prompt people to do none of the above. Look, go watch MLB Network when you get a chance. Brewster's Millions has been on 20 times since Christmas. You gotta love the holiday season. Pop references don't come up easy, but when you take grasp of them, you throw them out there. For example, you can't have people vote for none of the above, despite the fact that people are upset with the political system overall. And how do I know that? 9% approval rating of Congress. You look at a lot of these governors, the approval ratings are not that high. You can go to Pennsylvania, you can go to several other of these states. But because you can't go none of the above when it comes to election time, they always pick a side to be very, very angry with. They pick a winner and a loser. Because in America, we love an underdog. We love winners. We love losers. And although we love an underdog, if we don't think the underdog has a chance to win, we love jumping on the bandwagon. That's why everybody loves the New England Patriots. They're not a very lovable team if you're not from New England. Again, don't believe me? I know I'm going off on a tangent, but just belabor this point for just a second. Because I'll prove it very quickly. Remember when the New England Patriots were 18-0 and about to make history, and they had Spygate going on, and they came together as a team? They acquiesced as a team. They stuck together. They hunkered down, and they went 18-0. Do you remember the polls? Who do you want to win the Super Bowl? One state out of 50 or 57 wanted the Patriots to win. Might have been Connecticut as well. Might have been Maine as well. But you see the New England part, that was red for the New England Patriots. Everybody else was rooting for the New York Giants. We love an underdog, and if we think the underdog actually has a chance to win, we will go against the front runner. At the same time, you can also look at examples of, and they got behind the underdog and they won. Just the same, LeBron James. Everybody started hating the Miami Heat when he went from Cleveland to Miami. They jumped on the underdog, the Dallas Mavericks. They won the championship that year. Everybody was happy. Once it became pretty obvious that the Miami Heat was just going to put together this run that was kind of Jordan-esque between Wade, Bosh, James, then all of a sudden people started becoming Miami Heat fans again. Oh, I love LeBron. And LeBron didn't do anything to be hated other than leave Cleveland. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, look, people, A, love underdogs. B, if they're pissed off at the system, if they don't like the free agency system where 3 superstars, 3 Olympians can all go on the same exact team and basically run shop in the NBA, eventually they're going to pick a side. Either they're going to pick the underdogs and hate the people that did that, or they're going to jump on the bandwagon and hate everybody else. Just the same politically. This is the caution I have for my fellow conservatives and Republican candidates. Although people hate the whole political system, they hate the back and forth, they hate the bickering in the media and everything else. And now they're going to hate this Christie versus Clinton, BridgeGate versus Benghazi, Fox News versus MSNBC, CNN kind of doing a little bit of both. They're going to hate that. And then right around August, they're going to pick a side. And if conservatives are not ready, if Republicans are not ready, if you look at recent history, the American people, particularly the independent voter, particularly the unaffiliated voter, particularly the swing voter, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, almost seem to overwhelmingly go for the Democrats. And so they'll pick the side, and they'll pick against the Republicans yet again. Happened in 2006, happened in 2008, happened in 2012. I know about 2010, but, conservatives got a little big-headed after that, and thus 2012 happened. Americans are sick of this. But more than that, Americans get sick of this and then they find somebody to blame, which goes back to why conservatives, in a very smooth and nuanced way, they're going to have to show why BridgeGate, despite the fact that it did affect a lot of people coming out of New York City over the most famous bridge and the busiest bridge, I'm almost going to say the most busy, the busiest bridge in the United States. I get all of that. Dig it, makes sense. And if there was any type of political retribution in a very nearsighted way by a governor that was up by over 20 points in the polls and was going to win re-election anyway, and they did this anyway, less than 45 days before an election anyway, then yes, there's something to report about this. But conservatives, and I would dare say even the American people overall, are going to have to get away from focusing on the political tennis, the media tennis, back and forth, progressives, conservatives, and actually look at the stories behind this and really take a full embrace, a full period to reflect upon who you're voting into office. Stop voting the familiar names into office just because. If they're doing a good job, great. Somebody that's overseeing the Secretary of State's office and operations that is involved in a cover-up, potentially, of the situation happened in Benghazi, then wants to turn around and run for the presidency, that's a problem. Somebody that has enough nearsightedness to have people around them that will get involved in political retribution in a race where you're already ahead by 20 points and they leave fingerprints, that's something to discuss that may have an impact on how you're going to run for the presidency there too. No drama. Obama won in 2008. Even if the Obama from 2012 ran in 2008, that Obama would not have beaten Hillary Clinton. Only no drama Obama was able to beat Hillary Clinton in 2008. I know you're sick of the back and forth in the media with these stories. In many, many ways, they're not even comparable. They're just not. They're the only thing that allows you to tie them together is the fact that one is on one team, one is on the other team. One's for the Steelers, one's for the Raiders. One's for the Steelers, one's for the Ravens. One's for the Packers, one's for the Bears. One's for the Cowboys, one's for the 49ers. Or, if you want to really go into heading in the Super Bowl Sunday, one's for the Seahawks and one's for the 49ers. There's not going to be a whole lot of bad blood, by the way, between the Broncos and the Patriots. The second game, the Seahawks and the 49ers, someone's going to get beat down. And it's going to be good. I hope there's not a big fight in that game, but that's going to be a tussle, and that's an understatement. Unlike, well, maybe not unlike, what you're seeing politically now. And it'll be very interesting to see, as these subpoenas come up, what people say as they dig more into the Benghazi situation and find out not only was it avoidable and not only were they warned, but perhaps somebody did give the stand-down order. I mean, you've heard that they did, and then that went away, and this, that, and the other. Nobody has a smoking gun yet on Hillary Clinton or Chris Christie. Nobody does. And that's probably the redeeming thing for both of them as they look forward to 2016. And although we are 2 years away, you got to raise money. Because these elections, the run for dog catcher, it seems like you got to be a millionaire nowadays, which, by the way, is a very bad thing about American politics. Politics is not supposed to be for the rich. It's supposed to be for people that serve the people. That's what it's supposed to be for. You serve the people well, you get in, whether you got just a shirt on your back or, you're Bill Gates. Unfortunately, because of how we, as Americans collectively, enjoy our politics these days. We want to be entertained as well as served politically. It usually doesn't happen that way. We usually get entertained and very poorly served politically. But with that said, these things cost money. They are raising money now. Chris Christie's inauguration next week will matter. Hillary Clinton, if she gives a statement on Benghazi, which, by the way, she probably won't, as we wrapped up, the smartest thing she can do is not give a statement. That will matter as she reemerges, as President Bill Clinton reemerges, as stories about them reemerge. 2014 doesn't matter as much as you think it does, but these stories now do matter. Try your best not to get dizzy from the political tennis going back and forth and getting your neck going back and forth between conservatives and progressives, going on and on and on, trying to take the other candidate down. Pay attention to the facts, understand how it all fits into the big picture, and then make some smart choices from there. That's my take on this. I know I'm sure we'll be talking about this more later, but you know what? You know where to find me. I want to hear your feedback. Twitter, LennyMcAllister. Facebook, 2 pages, same name. Want to talk to you. In the meanwhile, enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you'll get out there for the MLK Day of Service. I will not be on the air on Monday. I will be out with my family doing things for the Day of Service, doing things for the community. So I hope to see you out there. In the meanwhile, enjoy your 3-day weekend. Serve somebody, make their life better, and make this an opportunity to serve your community, bond with your community, and be a leader in your community to make America better. I love you. You have a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Take care and God bless.